Hello YouTube and everybody in YouTube land. Welcome back to my channel where I bring my fantasy world into the physical. Make a quick little video today talking about my books in each one, and possibly I'll be talking about where I plan to go, and hopefully you guys can see the links between the books that I am writing. So to start off with, I first published this book. This was my debut novel back in 2010. That's when I first wrote the main story. And I started writing the story 10 years before. So it took me 10 years just to publish this first book. And I wanted to get most of the world written up. And at that time, I was very new to the world and didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't really had that much support on this book. Or anyway, so in this book I introduce a family. The first man or first person of the family would be Strone. He's the first king, and his son, which is Dracu. So those are the main characters out of this book. I also introduce Ivar in one of the chapters, giving you a connection between the two characters. So this is my first book where I introduce everybody and the world and what's going on, the political systems, and what the main struggle is. So then when I published this other book, which is called Heroes of Eowyn, there was a website, I don't know if some of you know about it, called Helium, and I published 9 stories there and had some feedback from them from there, and every story that I had up there was associated with my fantasy world. So I decided when that website went down, it was a really cool website. You know, I could publish my stories, and depending how many times it was clicked on or how many times it was read, I got paid like maybe a penny or two or something like that. I think I made a total of like 50 cents or something like that over the 6 months that it was up. Back then it was pretty cool. I was excited about it because people were telling me certain things of, you know, where to improve and how to write more stories about it. But anyway, so in here I have my writings, my short stories in here, and the characters that I introduce in this book are actually going to be introduced into the main storyline of this book. They will eventually come across the main characters in here. And also later on in other books. So this one introduces some heroes that will be involved with the downfall of the dragon. So this goes along with that. And then later on, in between all of that, I was writing a lot of backstory, a lot of history, a lot of folklore, and so forth. And I decided that I needed to put all these collective stories into one book. That way people can refer back to it if they wanted to have it as a reference. And that's where I came up with Nini Barda, which is currently off of the website right now because I am going through adding more stories. So that one came after that. Then I think it was like 2 or 3 years after I published that book that I decided that I wanted to expand on Ivar. And one of the reasons why I wanted to expand Ivar is because he was such a pivotal character within my debut novel that he was screaming for a book of his own. And because in there I just give you like a vague expression of who he is and how his mannerisms are, how he's more removed from everybody, doesn't want to associate with nobody. And I laid the groundwork in my debut novel saying that he's doesn't want to get close to anybody because everybody he gets close to gets killed. And I was like, I need to expand on that because it's just too vague for having a good character and not explaining where he came from and what happened, what caused him to be that way. So that's what created this book. In here, I introduce his family, his guardians, the people who raised him, where he grew up, how he grew up, what influenced his actions to become the servant of Malenka. And Malenka, I explain in this book, is the god of the grave and death. So he gets associated with the god of death. So where do I go from here, you say? I am currently working on book 2 of this guy, which is going to be another quite thick book because I still have to go through and figure out which one of the characters I want to introduce in part 2. And I know part 2 to this book would probably be the end of the main bad guy. So I have to come up and devise. I already have an idea, but I have to develop a way to introduce the second bad guy to book 3, which is where the rest of the characters will come into play. So there's a book 2 plan to have maybe 3 chapters to write out, and then I have to go back through and write in filler and details of the other chapters. As it is right now, I'm looking at maybe 22 chapters the most, maybe 70,000 words. That's my goal for that book. Sorry, I keep looking out the way. I keep seeing flashes down the street. So I'm not really going to tell you too much of the second book. But whatever. I'll tell you. Book 2 is where Dracu comes to his father's land, and there he is reluctant to pick up the mantle and continue with this kingship of his father and bring his fallen kingdom back into order. And there's a council that took over after his father's death, and they're being reluctant on giving up that power. So he has to struggle against them and find ways to show that he is worthy of the kingship. And as well as there's a dragon that I have mentioned. He awakens in the second book, and he's starting his reign of terror. So Dracu's not only having to deal with the council and the fragmentation of the clans, he's also having to raise an army and help rebuild the once beautiful capital, Eowyn, so he can defend against the dragon. And he has some companions with him, some new friends he meets. And Ivar is working his way up from the south and has his own story he's coming across. And the twist of that is quite exciting. Back when Dorlax was in power, there was a man by the name of Ar-Managan. And he became very powerful both in black and dark, light and dark magic. So he was kind of like, if you want to compare him, he was kind of like a gray Jedi, or like the, oh shoot, who was that group? Anyway, so he was kind of in between, but he was very powerful. He was a rival to Dorlax, even though Dorlax by this time was already 1,000 years old. So Ivar is, in some sense, some way related to that guy. I'm not going to go into detail because that would be a big spoiler. It wouldn't be very fun. So I am not really working on a sequel to this one just yet, but I have 2 planned for this one. And there's also one going to be in between this one and the second one. The one that's in between this book and then part 2 details a event in his life where he has to start deciding whether he's going to be bad or whether he's going to be good. So he comes across very strong creatures and powerful beings that he's able to overcome them and also make an alliance with some of them. And they belong in the underworld. Let you run with that as you may. But in that book, he comes across a plot to kill somebody and to wipe out a sector group that he has no part of, but they associate him with. So he has to go and defend people he's not associated with. And he has to overcome his fears to do that. So in that book, I'm maybe about 70% complete. But on book 2, I have maybe about 20% written down so far. And as book 3, I just have an outline. Yes, an outline. Because I wanted to have it down. Because when I was thinking about book 3, I was at work and I didn't want to forget the ideas that I was coming across. Because my mind is full of ideas. I have the whole world in my head, and sometimes it can be hard to contain all of it. So just in case I didn't forget where I wanted to go, I wrote it all down. And so I got it in one of my notebooks. So that's just a basic overview of my books that I've written and where I plan to go, in case you guys want to help me out and be a beta reader or collab or read some of my books to give me feedback. So you guys, I wanted to give this information so you guys feel a part of what I'm trying to do. And as well as all of this, I'm doing coins, I'm doing bookmarks, I'm doing letter openers, I have necklaces, I have a charm that I made of the poison called Valeska. Valeska was used in this book, and it's one of my better killing devices. Anyway, yeah, so if you guys want to be a part of my fantasy world, you want to help me out and I don't know, be a beta reader or something, that'd be great. Or just give me feedback on my upcoming writing, just go ahead and let me know. Okay, this is the end of the video. It's already 13 minutes long, and I want to thank you guys for watching this far. And if you guys want to be a part of this, leave me a comment below that you want to be a part of it, and I will include you in my email list that I'll be starting to compile, which I should have started a long time ago with. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and as always, stay being creative.